Earlier, I talked about what e-learning is versus online versus in-person facilitated, and I gave those definitions. So today I'd like to focus on when you should use e-learning. When does that make the most sense? While initially it's costly to create, it provides a really good long-term, cost-effective way to deliver a consistent message, consistent training to a broad audience when they need it. So not just kind of when you schedule it, but they can access it anytime. So let me talk about three things that you want to consider when you're looking at whether e-learning is a good choice or not. The first is looking at the content. So it's really good for knowledge-based kind of learning. So learning a model or a system or a process. So you might pair it with learn about this model first in e-learning and then follow up with an online or a facilitated program to apply that and to kind of get at some nuances. So it's really good for learning kind of non-nuanced material. So things like learning a system, for example, there's a right and a wrong, a correct way of doing it, an incorrect way of doing it. So e-learning is great for that. It's also good for generic content. So when you want to have kind of compliance or regulatory, so health and safety, privacy and security, things that aren't really specific to your company or your organization, it's really good for that. You can do it where it's specific to your organization, but the more generic it is, maybe the easier it is. And finally, think about content that's stable. Because e-learning is costly to design initially, you want to be able to build it and then have it with a really long shelf life. You don't want it to have it expire. So going back to the systems example, if you know that your systems are stable, that's a great choice. If you're a tech company, for example, and your system is changing a lot and the interface is going to look different, don't do e-learning because it'll be outdated as soon as you get it out the door. So in addition to content, also think about your audience. So e-learning is great for really large, geographically dispersed audience. They can access it all at once. So if you're designing e-learning and it's only for 20 people, that's not very cost effective. But if you're designing e-learning, it's for 200 or 2,000 people, much more cost effective. The other thing, going back a little bit to the messaging and the content, is that an advantage of e-learning is you have a lot of consistency. So everybody's getting exactly the same message, which is important. I mentioned price a couple times, so just to dive in there, it's initially costly to design it and develop, but then once it's rolled out, there's a really low online kind of ongoing implementation cost. The other thing that makes it costly up front is that you need to be able to host it somewhere. And so there's designing the actual program and then where are you going to host it on a learning management system or something like that. So that there's that extra cost consideration to think of. So hope that helps when you're considering what type of delivery approach to use as part of your learning strategy. Thanks.